So I was just watching the news and I saw that Whitney Houston, dead at 48. It's so sad whenever somebody that's got, so much talent like Whitney Houston dies so young. They can't turn it around. It's sad. And it reminds me of the time I used to work at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills. And one time I actually served Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown up in their room. And I remember at the time, like her reality show, Whitney and Bobby, was out, and I was like, some of that stuff's got to be staged. You watch those reality shows, you can't help but think, oh, some of that's staged. They do that for dramatic effect. I went up to their room. Those two were so cracked out. I was like, okay, the show's completely real. But I remember knocking on the door, and Bobby Brown answered the door, wife beater, boxer shorts. And, I'm like, oh, good evening, Mr. Brown. I come in and I was like, where would you like me to put the food? And he was like, back on the couch, like asleep. And he's like, yeah, put it on the table. And I was like, oh, do you want it on the table? Yeah. And I'm like, wow, okay, great. Then Whitney Houston comes in from the balcony. She's wearing a bathrobe. Her hair was wet, just a bathrobe, nothing else. And her hair was wet. She comes in, and she'd been on the phone, with a family friend or something. So I'm taking the food, putting it on the table, and Whitney Houston comes in the room, and she says to Bobby, she says, I just got off the phone with so-and-so. She said, Susan's got cancer. So, I figure Whitney Houston's talking to her husband about, some family member with a, medical condition. So it's none of my business. I just keep putting the food, on the table. Bobby Brown, totally ignoring her. He doesn't give a shit. He just, he's waiting for his food while he passes out on the couch. Whitney Houston all of a sudden screams, did anybody hear what I said? I said she's got cancer. I practically, jump out of my socks. I almost spill the food because she can still belt it out. And I stopped and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. You said your friend has cancer. She's like, yes. Now she's happy that someone's talking to her, and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. I was like, I'll say a prayer for that person. She's like, thank you. I finished delivering the food, and then I got out of there as quickly as I possibly could. But even then, I couldn't help but think to myself, I was like, that is just so sad that she went from being this iconic singer that was just so amazing. I mean, her voice was amazing, and now she's dead. Whitney Houston, dead at 48. It's a sad day.